iGo Ladies Lounge Health and Wellness Show.
Hello ladies, welcome back to our podcast. This is the Ladies Lounge podcast. I'm Chido, I'm your host. I'm joined today again by Praise, who is my colleague. Hi Praise.
Hey Chido, hey ladies.
So if you've been listening to us in our previous episodes, you know we talk about everything woman, everything wellness, everything to do with growing yourself, loving yourself, living the best life that you could. And today, to sort of like get into that as well, we are getting into the topic of dealing with offense.
Yeah.
There's I mean, you know, Praise, where there's people, there's going to be offense.
Obviously.
Definitely. If you meet people, if you interact with people, you're going to be offended at some point in time. And we'd just like to address that on what offense is and how can we deal with it. So I've got a quote here about dealing with offense. It says, holding offense is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
Well, but the other person will suffer because they will cry and cry and cry.
They will not.
You're the one who will be writhing in pain.
Offense does more hurt to you than it does to the other person. Sometimes, you know, you can be bitter, you can be offended by someone and you're holding all these negative emotions about them. They don't even know that they offended you. So it hurts you more than it does the other person. And this statement just conveys the idea that, you know what, holding on to resentment can be harmful to both yourself and to others, because when you turn into a bitter person, you bleed onto other people, and that's not a good way to be. Okay, so we're gonna get into what is offense. We really want to know what is this thing that we're calling offense and why do we get offended. I feel like especially for women, okay, maybe it's because men don't show it, maybe. Yeah, but for women, definitely this is a thing. And we want to know how we can manage these situations constructively, especially in the workplace. So I'll give my definition of generally what offense is, and Praise will then take us through what does offense look like in the office place. So to me, if you offend someone, it means that you're causing them to be upset, whether it's because of your actions or your words, and that you may need to apologize. So generally, that's what offense looks like. It's a lack of politeness, because definitely we as human beings, is like a moral compass, right? You need to be civil, you need to be polite. If you're not doing that, you're offending someone, definitely, right?
No offense, Chido, but I agree with you.
The moment you say no offense, we're going to get into that. The moment you say no offense, you mean offense. It's just like saying but in a sentence. But just means everything else I've said doesn't really matter. Okay, so that's one way to put it. Offense is also a failure to show regard, right? You're not concerned how others will feel. You're not concerned how it will be received by the other person. And that could also be regarded as offense. It's also wounding people's feelings. Definitely, if you're causing harm with your words, with your actions, you're wounding someone, you are being offensive, and that's not okay.
And there's that most common one. The most common one, the one we always talk about on our wellness days, when we say, you see me and already you have a comment for me. Ooh, you look this way. Your hair.
But okay, what if I'm genuinely just wanting to, like, you know how we compliment each other as African people? I think like this is a culture thing. It's not written down, but we've just made it. Black people will be like, and they were futa. You know, now you're fat, but they're trying to compliment you.
But what if I'm struggling with this weight problem? It's like in my house, my husband is like, woman, you have ballooned. I didn't get you that way. And I'm struggling with that issue. So yeah, offense is really serious, eh?
It's a tricky one. So tell us, why do we get offended in the workplace?
like the example we just had, to say that, it's a compliment, but we receive it or perceive it the wrong way. So in most circumstances, some things, they come as a jab or a joke. And because we already have underlying issues, it just then becomes a mountain.
Okay.
It becomes an issue.
So are we saying offense is because I'm shaped by my experiences in life? Therefore, I have a perception of myself, whether it's because of my culture or my upbringing or whatever. So now, even if someone is genuinely saying something, I take offense.
Most times,
So
yes.
are you saying it's my fault that I take offense?
I think both parties have a role to play. Because, on the personal side, we are saying that I had a nasty experience and you say a joke or a comment that then triggers the memory of how I used to feel. When we were children, we bullied a lot. And you were always called the fat one, one. Or, you have a big navel. And everybody will be laughing at you about that.
Yeah.
And then as I grow older, I managed to suppress that feeling. Or tried to forget it. And then somebody comes back and you say fatty. Oh, hell breaks loose. So I easily take offense because I lived it before, and it's something that I'm trying to bury. So yes. And then on the other side of the offender, it's because sometimes people are insensitive.
Yeah.
They don't consider their words before they say them. It's like they just shoot, not taking into consideration that they're talking to an individual who has their own life. So I think it goes both ways.
Whew, this is a hot topic right here, because I feel like as the offended, I'm right. The offender doesn't know that they're offending someone. They think they're right. Ooh, this is a hot topic. Whilst we take a break, why don't you think on it? Think on why sometimes you take offense quickly. Think on, is the offended right? Is the offender right? How can we bridge the gap so that we can understand each other? We're going to take a short break. All right, we're back. Like Musana. If you're Shona, you know what that means.
I have taken offense to that.
Don't be offended. Okay, so in this episode, if you're just joining us, we're exploring dealing with offense. And we said offense is someone wounding you, whether by their actions or their words. And we had quoted a quote at the beginning of it, which I want us to keep at the back of our minds. Holding offense is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Close quotes. That's a powerful one, and I feel like if you know that quote, you're gonna know how to deal with offense, because this affects you more than it does others. So, Praise, we were talking about offense and how it can be triggered by literally anything. Please shed some light on these common triggers of offense. What triggers offense within us? I mean, yes, for everybody, but particularly women, what hits the spot?
The main one, since we're talking on the workplace area, we have workplace gossip. Yeah.
But I feel like we're women, right? We like to talk.
Yeah, but I don't like you talking about my stuff. I share with you, or you overheard my conversation on the phone.
Okay.
And I don't expect you to repeat that to anybody else. But if I hear it being spoken, tea room, everybody is now whispering about me. These days we have Mujolo, this dating, it's like a train smash everywhere. And I just, was on a call about something, and I'm being dumped. And everybody by this big person, And then I hear about what's whispered in the tea room. Am I going to enjoy the tea? Obviously, I'm going to be offended. Like, Shido was talking about me, in a very bad way. So workplace gossip is really bad, and it is a huge factor that affects a lot of people.
All right.
And then we also have unfair treatment.
Okay.
Yes, this one now has to do with the management systems in the workplace. Say sometimes you feel you've worked so hard, but you don't get acknowledgement of what you have done. I do understand, like we just learned that, sometimes we are not rewarded for the hard work, we are rewarded for the results.
That's most of the time.
Yeah, but unfortunately, when I work hard, I expect a reward, no matter what the result is. You get the sense. So sometimes we actually take offense to say that we haven't been acknowledged when we haven't brought the result. So I feel offended. Somebody can feel offended to say, I've worked so hard, I've run around, but nobody said thank you. Where's the result?
Let me play devil's advocate for a minute on this point.
Amen.
And be like, okay, yes, we're human beings and we expect generally without any prior communication that if I do something good, someone is going to applaud me.
Yes, that's
Is that the way things are supposed to go though? Because I feel like sometimes we expect too much from other people. Like, I want to be treated the way I treat people or I would treat people. When in actual fact, the thing is, you must treat people the way they are wired. That's stress management 101 that we teach people. Beware of your expectations, right? Deal with the expectations, right? If you lower them, you're less likely to be disappointed. That's number one. Okay, in actual fact, if you say, okay, I don't want to lower my expectations, right? I've got high standards and I expect this for that. Okay, communicate them. Communicate your expectations. Listen, I feel like this is the way things must go. I do something good. Can I get a pat on the back or whatever? It's good for my, I don't know, for my general sense of, I'm playing a little bit of devil's advocate here, but I feel like we are not clear when it comes to communication, when it comes to, because why I'm taking offense is the other person doesn't know. Even in the first point that you said, people are talking about you. People don't know that I want my business to myself.
Yes.
I have not communicated that expectation. So when it comes out that people are talking about me now, I'm more offended because I trusted you with my information, but I did not communicate that I don't know, this is a private situation. I don't want you speaking about it with someone else.
But I trusted you. So offense is like a really big balloon.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. What's another common trigger?
And then another common trigger is inappropriate jokes and comments.
Yeah, I feel like that's pretty clear.
That one is very close.
Don't say inappropriate things. Okay, what counts as inappropriate? Maybe that's where we get it wrong.
Now that's where we go back to that point where we're saying, we never know. Because I might come innocently to a person with a very good, to me it's a good compliment, and then I trigger something and they blow up. So this one is quite tricky.
I need to be sensitive. I need to be emotionally intelligent.
Very,
because anything can trigger someone.
And also, remember boundaries. If we don't play together that way, don't. Yeah. If we play together, I can say to you, today you're here, iGo. But if somebody comes and say that, it's an offense. Because, we vibe that way. And the next person, they don't vibe that way. So it's tricky. It's really important that we are very, very careful what we say, whom we say to, and how we say it. Sometimes a compliment, if you said, your hair, and then, wow, your hair, there's a difference. So at the end of the day, it's very important to be very watchful of what we say, how we say, and to whom we say it.
It's getting complicated. The more we talk about it, the more it's getting complicated. But I do get simple, you. I feel like the basis of it is emotional intelligence. We are all very different people, different upbringings, different personalities. You need to watch yourself. Watch You know, you need to be able to observe people, read them, see what they like, see what they don't, so that you don't step on someone's toes.
That's very true.
Yo,
Yeah.
wow. What's another one? I feel like sometimes people offend intentionally.
Yeah, they do. You know, there's that funny one, inappropriate physical contact.
Girl, I'm single, you know.
Yeah.
I'm at work. So, like, what's inappropriate?
Wow, women, you are standing. Okay, let's start with the simplest one.
Yes,
You're
yes,
standing
yes.
in a queue and someone just stands too close and they're bumping you. Like, that's so weird.
Yeah.
That's
that
so
is,
weird.
that
Okay,
is,
to
that is.
me, or and ladies, we have this tendency of just thinking that just because we're ladies, I can just come and rub. You know, you settle something and I rub your bum. You know,
Oh, I can touch your hair.
exactly. Oh, okay, let's leave it there. But yeah,
There's a personal story
a
there.
very
I feel
personal
like.
one. And let's leave it there. Yeah, but exactly, like, you know, this physical contact. Yeah, we're ladies, but does it mean that I want you to touch me? You know, boundaries, personal space.
So again, boundaries, personal space. We are not all friends. Is that what we're saying?
Exactly. That's very true.
Ooh.
You know.
Gosh.
We
All right.
don't know where you've
So
been.
relationship definitely doesn't matter when it comes to offense. Like,
Yes, it does.
Okay.
A lot.
All right.
Even hugs.
Because I think maybe that's also a difference in values, in perspectives, in how people were brought up. Because I feel like even the other day I was walking in town, and this lady, she was older. She literally came to me and said, listen, your t-shirt is coming up, you need to, you know. To me, because okay, sometimes I really don't take offense with things, but if I then looked at it and said, if I were someone else, I would have taken offense, because I don't expect you to stop me in the street and talk about what I'm wearing or whatever. That's none of your business,
Yeah,
right?
and these days,
But-
flesh out is a style.
But for the older generation, that's just how they were brought up, right?
Yes.
You see another woman that looks like they need help them. If you can say something to help someone, do that.
How about
So-
just saying it and not touching and pulling down my hair, my clothes?
Okay.
Just say it.
Maybe.
So
yeah.
that if I want to, and don't say do, suggest.
Okay.
Yes,
All right.
that way, maybe it's my style today. You know, I want my navel out there and you're telling me to pull down my shirt. Like, okay, I take offense. So suggest, communication. Yes,
Okay.
suggest and don't instruct.
All right. Okay, we're going to take another short break. Listen, if you are having a hard time dealing with offense and you feel like you need to talk to someone about it, who can then give you a different perspective on how to deal with such offenses and with other people, hit us up, send an email, igo@simas.co.zw, leave a comment in the comment section and we'll get right back to you and see how we can offer our services. These are day-to-day really serious issues that sometimes we don't take quite seriously, but they can affect the way we see ourselves, our self-esteem and all of those things. So we're going to take a short break and then we can come back and talk about how to respond to offense. We're here at the Ladies Lounge podcast in our episode dealing with offense. Listen, hurt has to show you how to grow at some point in time. So we're going to get into how to respond to offense. How can we do that, Praise?
I'll start with an example. Parents passed. I'm 31 years old. And somebody says something, and you know, there's this phrase that everybody or most people are using, like, I'm an orphan, please don't do that to me, you know. So does it mean somebody hasn't processed the loss? that I'm 31 and I lost those parents. And when somebody says something, I'm asking them for mercy. Don't do this to me. Be merciful with me. Handle me like an egg.
Okay.
Is it because I haven't processed the emotions, the feelings, the whole thing? Or it's just that I'm a person who just wants to be easily offended? So it's important that a person pauses and reflects. Is this intended to be, is this something that should get worked up on? Or it's something that, you can just laugh off and, move on. So it's important to take a moment.
Okay.
Process.
So that I don't react first before I think about it.
Yes.
Yeah. That I think that's very, very important because, yeah. Not to say that women are more emotional or whatever, but we definitely tend to react more first before we pause and reflect on the whole situation at hand. So I think that's very, very important, especially at work. Don't just get out of character before you've understood what exactly is going on. Did this person mean harm? Or, did I set boundaries? What must happen before you just...
Because that's where we get more offensive names. Yes.
Let's not get into that one today. Lest we offend someone.
So we need to pause and reflect and then assess the situation.
Okay.
Like, is the content supposed to really get you worked up or not? Understand the intent of, maybe it was just a joke and you just blew up. So understand the intent of the statement or whatever situation that's going on, and then communicate your feelings clearly in a good manner. Because the moment you start shouting, yes, it's communication shouting, right? But the moment you shout, the person who said something with goodwill, they are also going to react, and now it's a shouting match. So it's important to communicate your feelings clearly and respectfully.
So for those who think you have no issues and you're fine and you're what, really take some time to self-introspect, especially on how you take jokes, how you get easily offended. Listen, we're wellness coaches. We're here for you. We can help you work on your self-improvement right there. Okay, go on.
All right. And then after communicating your feelings, if things don't go well, if the offender doesn't really get what you're saying, then it's important that you seek clarity.
Yeah.
What was your intention? Like, are we together here or not? I'll give an example. Well, I have locks, and somebody I don't know, I'm not the friend of that person, and they called me Rasta.
Okay.
Like, everybody, where you go, everybody's just calling you Rasta. But is that my name? So I did take offense. And I stood and I told them, you know what? Only the people I play with who know how to play with me can call me that.
Okay.
I'm not going to respond to you.
All right.
And I walked on.
Okay.
So the point is, you just have to really be able to
set
boundaries. And also, if you don't get to an agreement point, you need now to find a mediator.
Yep.
You need someone to just come and neutralize the ground, and from there find a solution. Focus on the solution. Sometimes dwelling on the issue, you called me Rasta, and then it just
it escalates.
But it escalates for nothing.
Okay.
So it's good to just say, okay, fine. So what's the solution? Should you continue calling me Rasta or not?
Okay, so on that point, where does empathy come in? Like, seeing the situation from the other person's perspective. Like, yes, I feel like I'm offended, but in order for me not to react in a negative way, should I put myself in the other person's shoes as well to say, okay, you know what? They didn't know that this is a sore spot for me. So maybe let me give them grace. And then let me communicate that, listen, you might not know, but this is not, I don't like that tone or whatever. So is empathy a good thing in this situation?
It is a key, because we're saying assess the situation. That's where you are starting to feel, okay, if this person, what did they really mean to? You're trying to get into the other person's shoes, the offender's shoes, if there was an offense. Okay. So it's important to have empathy. You try and you put yourself in someone's shoes so that you assess the situation, understand the situation, and seek clarity there as well. So the moment you start to say, okay, did they mean to? Let me just try and fill their shoes. You are already calming down and you're already having a better picture of the whole situation. Oh, it was a joke.
Yeah.
We laugh it off. Oh, you really did offend me. And this is and guarantees a response. So at the end of the day, it is important to have empathy.
Great. And the last thing there, I think, for the offended is probably forgive and move on. Like if we've sorted it out, okay, maybe we even got to the mediator, we've come to a compromise, let's move on.
Drinking poison, expecting somebody else to die.
Exactly, because if now I keep that poison, the next time someone offends me, I'm going to be like, oh, praise, last time did this and this. That means I haven't let go of that. And that means definitely the improving of self is lacking a little bit. Hey,
That's
so
when we
letting
have
go
this-
for your peace, not for the other person, for yourself,
Very true.
is very, very important.
Very true.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the offender.
Okay.
How do we deal with me offending someone?
Okay, it's important to listen. It's important to listen.
Definitely.
Because you said something that provoked some feelings or whatever in another person. Now they are responding. So it's important to then listen to the Is it offendee?
Offended.
The offended. The offended is responding. So me, the offender, I should give it an ear to hear what they're saying. Maybe they're saying, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? You just triggered something in me. So I need to be able to listen. But sometimes most people, I was just joking, and then you move on. But I'm already hurt, and I'll hold it and then it becomes my poison.
Yeah. I think that's a very important point, because most times we offend people. Yes, we don't know, but the step that I take after I've been told that you've offended me is very key, because minimizing my feelings won't help anything. I'm telling you, you don't get to decide what offends me, right? So I'm telling you, you've offended me. You don't get to say it was a joke or try to minimize and say, you catch feelings too much. Or don't do that.
You're emotional.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a strong word that people use for no reason. You're actually escalating the matter. And this also shows us the level of emotional intelligence that you hold. If I'm communicating, this is my perspective. You can't tell me how to think. You can't tell me how to feel. You've offended me. The best you can do is, I understand. Understand, yes, and say,
And calling
apologize.
me a drama queen.
Yes. And when you're apologizing, mind you, don't say, I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings.
God, you did.
I'm sorry if I said it in the wrong way. I have already communicated that you did.
You did.
So what you're apologizing for is the offense.
Exactly.
Whether you agree with me or not on if you offended me, that's another story. You offended me, apologize.
Acknowledge my feelings. Yeah, that's very true. And that was going to be our next
We're
point.
dealing with. I know we're dealing with some people today. We're preaching a word in this place today. If you wanna give an offering, I'm kidding.
Oh
I'm
my
kidding.
God.
So that's definitely some of the things that you can work on. Is there anything else? Yeah, I feel then that means also it's an area for self-improvement. If people keep telling you offend them, one person says you offended them, another person tomorrow, you need to self-introspect. Something is up. There's no smoke without fire, right?
Exactly. Not every joke is funny, hey?
Exactly. Maybe,
Or to everyone.
Maybe you're not funny, generally.
Exactly.
And you need to accept that, right?
True.
And for both, whether the offended or the offender, definitely it's important to build resilience. I know in the past couple of episodes we have talked about managing stress. Let's talk about you need to learn to manage your emotions as well. You need to learn how to stay calm in challenging situations. This shows your growth as a person. This shows your emotional maturity. This shows your emotional intelligence, like I've been saying the whole episode. We can only see how far you've grown from your experiences in life with how you manage your emotions.
And not everything needs to be taken to heart. Sometimes just laugh it off and walk. Yeah.
Very true. Wow, this was an insightful, for me, definitely, because I'm definitely seeing some little, little areas, little pockets
tweaks. We all need tweaks
that I need to work on, especially when it comes to taking offense. Praise would know I'm a very vocal person. So sometimes, I don't get out of character quite a lot, but I definitely need to be more calmer. Definitely. I think we need to do some yoga or something.
But I do appreciate the fact that it's not all the time. And also, even after you feel like you've been provoked, you're able to communicate your feelings without it being a bomb exploding.
True. Okay, so thank you so much for joining us. We would like to know your thoughts. We would like to know your little stories, if you can share on how you've dealt with offense, on how you've been offended, especially in the workplace, and how you've dealt with that. Have you ever escalated a matter between you and a colleague? How did you get out of that? Did you communicate well? Was there any personal growth that you got out of that? So please shoot us an email. Put your comments below in the comment section here on YouTube. Let us know also what you'd like us to talk about in our upcoming episodes. If you'd like a guest speaker, if you'd like a professional, somebody to talk about a specific thing, please let us know. Submit your questions, and then we can then share some things and help each other out. That's the whole point of this podcast. So also just tune into our Facebook pages. There's tips and tricks on how to do some exercises on stress management, mindfulness, letting go of resentment, and all of those things. Thank you so much for joining us. Till next time. Cheers.
iGo Ladies Lounge Health and Wellness Show.